Hey everyone, we are live at bullbuster.net, and this video today is about the long-range fishing trips out of Southern California, specifically in San Diego. There's 3 landings in San Diego where you can get on a long-range fishing trip. That's H&M Landing and Fisherman's Landing. Those are 2 that are right next to each other in Point Loma. And then the other landing that you can go to is Seaforth Landing. So yeah, that's where all these boats are, and it's really an impressive sight to see, especially coming from the East Coast. There's literally nothing like it on the East Coast. Nothing like it. These boats were around back before World War II, and they were for commercial fishing for tuna. And they'd go all the way to the freaking Galapagos and back to fish for yellowfin tuna out of San Diego. But if you look at California and you look at the minimum wage, how high it is and all that, it doesn't make sense to be commercial fishing for tuna with cane poles, swinging tuna back into the boat, and it just doesn't make sense. You're going to go out of business. You're not going to get a 99-cent can of tuna doing that. It's just impossible. So this industry really figured out another way of doing business and keeping these boats alive, and that's you pay to be a commercial fisherman. And it's a luxury commercial fisherman experience. There's a chef on board, there's staterooms, but it's hardcore fishing, and you're going out to sea like a commercial fisherman would. And these boats are going out for 7 days, up to 22 days for these long range trips. So yeah, it's a heck of a operation out there, and if you come back to the dock, I'm sure you're seeing the footage here. There are just tons of cow tunas getting pulled in, cow yellowfin, cow bluefin, boatloads of wahoo, skipjacks. Not too many mahi, but there are mahi mixed in there. Yellowtail from down the islands in northern Baja. What else? Snappers for the boats that made it down to like Puerto Vallarta, some big groupers too. It's just really an impressive fishery with, that range gives these boats the ability to go fish the grounds, and wherever the fish are biting, that's where the boat's going to go. So it's a really impressive fishery in that way. And I know I've said it a million times, but you got to see it to understand why I've said it's an impressive fishery. So yeah, the long-range tuna fishery is something you need to see. I would recommend, before getting on to one of these 7-day trips, that you go on like a day and a half or a 2-day trip. And the reason for that is because it's going to kind of get you set up to understand the fishery a little bit and the style of fishing, and to get your gear tuned in to this type of fishery. It's completely different than running and gunning tuna. I was surprised at how light the fluorocarbon is that they're using, how small the hooks are. And the last thing you want to do is go on one of these long-range trips and not have all the right stuff. So I would recommend flying out there, getting a taste of the fleet with a shorter trip, and then getting geared up, talking to the right people to understand what it takes to go on a 14-day trip or a 15-day trip or one of these longer trips before you do that. Yeah, and another really impressive thing about this fishery is, and you would start to get used to it through a 1.5 or overnight trip, is using the bait that's available there. So in Southern California, or in the East Coast where I'm from, we spend hours catching bait with sabikis. Hours loading up. There's all kinds of products to keep your bait alive because it's so valuable. You spent so much time catching this bait that you really value it. But in Southern California, as you can see here, people just pull up to a bait barge and they load up on bait, and there's these huge tanks on the boat, hundreds of gallons of bait, and bait's. It's like a dime a dozen. The mate's going to be throwing out scoops of bait, and the tuna are going to be coming up to the boat, and the scoops of bait are going out continuously. So it's a really different fishery. You need to check it out. In the description below, I'm going to put a link to the trips to the boats that are available that make these long range trips. Links to where you can find the schedules of these boats, as well as links to an overnight trip, so you can kind of see what it's like and start to get prepared. And I'd like to call the overnight or the day and a half as the gateway trip to a long range fishing trip.